Hello and welcome to our daily Africa Cup of Nations show here on France 24. Sadio Mane, Senegal are through to the final after seeing off Burkina Faso 3-1 in an eventful and entertaining first semi-final in Yaoundé. We'll be crossing shortly to sports editor Simon Harding in the capital, who was watching that cracker. And we're also joined for more analysis in the studio by Ruben Slagter from Eurosport.
Good evening, Selina. Thank you very much.
And we're starting, of course, with that semi-final. The Lions of Teranga are through to that second consecutive Africa Cup of Nations final. After a goalless first half, Abdou Diallo and Idrissa Gueye put Senegal 2-0 up with just 15 minutes to go before things got heated as Burkina Faso managed to pull one back. A last-minute push from them for an equaliser then opened things up for Senegal's talisman Sadio Mane to kill off the game and get a record-equalling 29th goal for his country. For more on that, let's cross to sports editor Simon Harding in Yaoundé. Simon, they've definitely taken some time to really shine, but Senegal have shown just why they're tournament favourites this evening.
Yes, Selina, and they've done it exactly at the right time. In the knockout stages, in the games, they've had to win because since they've been in the knockout phase, they've won every game by 2 goals. 2-0 in the last 16, 3-1, and the same scoreline in this match as well, 3-1 against a very valiant Burkina Faso side. But Senegal, whom we were quite harsh with at the start of the tournament, we criticised them for not being too expansive in their play, for not taking their chances. First team ever to qualify with just 1 goal in the group stages, and that goal was a penalty as well. But let's not forget that, of course, Senegal were decimated by some COVID-19 cases coming into the tournament, and they didn't have the assurance of Edouard Mendy in goal or Kalidou Koulibaly at centre-back, and that perhaps played on how expansive Senegal have been going forwards. That's certainly been rectified by Aliou Cissé, who dispatched the Stallions with a very good performance. As you mentioned, Abdou Diallo and Idrissa Gueye, 2 Paris Saint-Germain players getting the goals before. Once again, Senegal showed their grit, showed their determination, showed their attitude as they didn't collapse when Burkina Faso pulled back a goal which could have set up some really nervy final minutes, but instead Sadio Mane showed his brilliance as he often does, scoring his 29th goal on international duty, levelling with the record that Henri Camara held, and he is now just 1 goal away from being the all-time leading goal scorer for Senegal.
And as you said there, Simon, obviously Mane is the talisman of the Senegal side, but it's a side that's got a lot of strength and depth that we have seen on display this evening.
Absolutely, and I think the best way to realise how good Senegal's squad is and how potent they've been, particularly in the knockout phases, is to look at the results and when the goals have come. When they were drawing 1-1 with Equatorial Guinea, Aliou Cissé made 2 changes, Cheikhou Kouyaté and Ismaïla Sarr, and lo and behold, both of those players scored in that game to give him the 3-1 victory. This time, yet again, changes that were made at 0-0, with Pape Gueye coming on to strengthen things up in midfield, and Ismaïla Sarr again coming on the right wing to help out the attacking impetus, and again that led to goals. Now yes, this time around the substitutes didn't score, but Ismaïla Sarr did play the ball in to Sadio Mane for the 3rd goal, and Pape Gueye was decisive in the build-up and in the midfield in terms of shoring up the performance, and actually could have scored a header himself. In fact, should have scored that one. So what we're seeing with this Senegal team is that if Plan A doesn't work, Aliou Cissé and the players are more than capable to revert to Plan B to make that one work. Their strength and depth and the quality of their squad is really coming to the fore. And after 4 weeks of tough competition in Africa, underneath the sun, with humidity levels that have been exceedingly high, I can promise you that players are very tired. It's starting to wear them down. And yet with Senegal, with this ability to rotate, then there is still that element of freshness, and twice we've seen that pay off when it really matters. And now it's just what we have to see in the final, either the host Cameroon or the the most decorated side in African history, which is Egypt.
And Senegal, of course, will have that shot. So their first shot at winning, not first shot, their shot at winning what would be their first AFCON trophy. Thanks to Simon in Yaoundé. We'll be crossing back to you later on. Now to Ruben in the studio. They were outclassed by Senegal this evening, but Burkina Faso can be proud of their performance and their run in this tournament.
Yeah, for a great game, you need two teams, and that's what we have seen tonight. I think, honestly, that Burkina Faso, they were excellent, especially the first half. It was their best game in the tournament. They've had their chances. They were playing really directly in the first half. They were strong. They really made Senegal doubt for a moment. And in the end, you also have to be honest that Burkina Faso doesn't have Sadio Mane, and Senegal is having Sadio Mane in the squad, so it's as easy as that. It's just a matter of quality in the end. But Burkina Faso and Cameroon, they're doing a really, really good job right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is just the beginning of something really, really beautiful.
We'll have to wait and see. And obviously, they do have that final third place playoffs, which has been brought forward to Saturday. Now, before we do take a look ahead to Thursday's semi-final, when the hosts will be in action, let's take a look back at Cameroon's football history. Long before Samuel Eto'o or Roger Milla was the man who lifted Cameroon onto the international stage. Samuel Mbappé Lepe, the country's first football legend, passed away almost 40 years ago and continues to be revered by players and fans across the country. James Sina, Cedric Ferreira and Ellen Gainsford have this report from his hometown, Douala.
Only a few people lucky enough to have played with Samuel Mbappé Lepe are still around today. And when 78-year-old Maurice Epete looks through his photographs, he's gripped with a sense of nostalgia as he remembers his time on the pitch with Cameroon's first major football star.
Ça, c'est Mbappé Lepe. Ça, c'est Léonard, qui était le capitaine de l'équipe nationale, et moi-même. 164.
The two of them paired up at Oryx Douala, where Mbappé Lepe lifted 5 championship trophies between 1961 and 1967 and went on to win the first edition of what was then the African Cup of Champions Clubs.
Mbappé Lepe was the player who could make the difference. He'd score the winning goal on a free kick in the very last minutes of the game.
Nicknamed the Marshal in reference to his height, Mbappé Lepe also captains Cameroon's national team. Proud of his country, on a club level he remained at Oryx Douala throughout his career, turning down opportunities to play in European leagues.
Money was never an issue for him. When he'd enter a nightclub, he didn't pay for his drinks. People rushed toward him to buy him one.
And 60 years on, Mbappé Lepe has inspired countless players in the country.
He's the first legend of Cameroonian football, so naturally he continues to make an impact on us. When you hear his name, it's an honor.
He was the first player to score a goal from 45 meters, maybe it was 50. He was also the first to have torn nets.
So generation after generation, football continues to grow in Cameroon. And after Mbappé Lepe's death in 1985, the city of Douala renamed this stadium in honour of the man who put Cameroon on the football map. A statue was also erected outside the grounds earlier this year before being taken down. But once perfected, well, Mbappé Lepe will look over every player who steps foot on this pitch, players who might also one day go on to represent their country.
Now, moving on to Thursday's semi-final as host Cameroon go head-to-head with Egypt for a place in the final against Senegal. With 12 AFCON titles between them, this match has all the makings of a blockbuster contest between the tournament's two most successful sides. The pair last met in the final in 2017, which was won by the indomitable Lions 2-1. The Pharaohs, who haven't won an AFCON since they completed their unprecedented treble in 2010, want to extend their record number of titles by getting an 8th. The hosts, meanwhile, are hoping to go all the way on home soil and get their trophy tally up to 6, which would bring putting them right on the toes of Egypt. Let's cross back now to sports editor Simon Harding in Yaoundé for more on the match. Simon, there's a lot of expectation going into this game in Yaoundé. And as we've discussed earlier, perhaps the opening match against Burkina Faso, Cameroon haven't since then come across any heavyweights in this competition. They've come up against two newcomers. That was the COVID-hit Comoros in the round of 16, who had to even field an outfield player in goal, and then the Gambia. Could this lack of big challenges be a hindrance for them?
It's hard to judge just how difficult it's going to be for Cameroon against Egypt, because not only have they not come up against the side, shall we say, one of the bigger nations on the continent, but they've also not come up against a team that's been as disciplined and as difficult to beat as Egypt. Now, as you mentioned, Selina, and you're quite correct, the biggest team they faced, shall we say, was Burkina Faso. But it was a Burkina Faso that was also struggling with 6 positive COVID cases. So it wasn't the Burkina Faso that we've just seen lose to Senegal by 3-1, a narrow scoreline, shall we say. It was a team that was struggling to get itself together at the start of the tournament. And it's a team that Cameroon only beat thanks to 2 penalties by a tournament top goal scorer, Vincent Aboubakar. Since then, it has been a rather smooth ride for Conceição and for the Indomitable Lions. The real question is now, how are they going to come up against Egypt? Because as you mentioned, there is the expectation, and the expectation here from the fans, from the country, is nothing short but another title, which would make it 6, coming to within just 1 of Egypt's record of 7. But the issue is Cameroon going to be able to play this attacking, free-flowing football that they've shown so far, with the danger of Aboubakar and Karl Toko Ekambi up front? Or are they going to be restricted to a war of attrition against the Pharaohs? Because we've seen Egypt play very compact, play as a unit, stifle their opponent's creativity, and then try and hit on the break with Mohamed Salah, the best player in the world at the moment. Now, it is true that if Cameroon can limit Mohamed Salah to very little action, then perhaps they can focus on attacking. There are also 2 notable absentees for Egypt, with Hegazi, the centre-back, missing, and El Shanawi in goal, also sidelined because of injuries. So it is also going to be interesting to see if Carlos Queiroz sticks with the approach of being cautious, or if he chooses to be a little bit more adventurous, even though in reality Egypt's squad and the quality of their players doesn't necessarily allow them to do so. For Cameroon, however, as you mentioned, the word of the day is to reach the final, is the expectation, and with 60,000 fans back at the Olembe Stadium, and that could be a contributing factor to a win or a defeat with the Olembe Stadium back there, then we might see sparkles. But as you mentioned, a blockbuster semi-final nonetheless, and no matter what happens, a very interesting game in store for us.
Our sports editor Simon Harding for us there in Yaoundé. Ruben, just quickly, let's touch on Egypt. Simon mentioned they're obviously without Hegazi, and it looks like they are going to have problems with their first and second goalkeepers, most probably out still injured. Their campaign hasn't maybe reached the full quality that they're potentially able to show that they've shown in previous tournaments, but they have stepped it up when it matters most. Could Egypt cause Cameroon problems?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to give them a lot of confidence ahead of this game, because, okay, they already eliminated Ivory Coast, probably the best team in the first round. Then a game against Morocco, coming back from one goal behind, which is also impressive because Simon said it already. The teams with Carlos Queiroz as a manager, in general, it's quite defensive. That's also what the force is of this Egyptian team. It will be really interesting, as Simon said as well. What are they going to do tomorrow? They will be without Hegazi. So will they do what they did in the second half against Morocco, put on an extra attacker and play probably on the weakness of Cameroon, which is more their defense than their attack? Or are they going to play like they always play and just hope for Mohamed Salah to do what he does best?
We'll have to wait and see. Definitely lots of action still to look forward to tomorrow. Thank you, Ruben, for joining us for this evening, and a big thank you to Simon Harding in Cameroon. That brings us to the end of our show for this evening, and a thank you for watching. We'll be back on Thursday at the same time in Paris and Yaoundé, when we'll know whether it will be Egypt or Cameroon who'll be facing Senegal in the final on Sunday. Until then, stay tuned for more news here on France 24.